one thing that you raised, and I think you would hate me if I don't ask the question. Let's talk a little bit about the social sector. What role do you see for them? And particularly as to Dink Pittell's words, and particularly in an environment where not just unemployment but youth unemployment is going from fairly depressing figures to what could be truly horrific. Um, what role do you see for the social sector in that?
So one of the benefits that the social sector have, when you talk about these platforms for engagement that regulators may have a problem, where do we work together? Social sector have a nice neutral place that they can occupy, an agnostic space. So competitive firms are far more likely to be able to engage on those platforms with a sense of safety. So Yes, for example, is a platform business. We've modeled ourselves on Airbnb, where we don't necessarily host the actual jobs. We have companies and NGOs across the country that are hosting those jobs. But we create a platform for firms across sectors to be able to register and commit to creating youth jobs. And that platform builds the incentives and the collaborations, rather than firms who have day jobs and need to be competitive and need to sell their widgets. They don't have the time to be able to create those platforms. And so I think the social sector can play a really, really valuable role by being the collaborative platforms for them to work around. And whether it is employment or financial inclusion that's going to drive savings and help protect families, in the future, so they've got some kind of buffer. There are so many social or wicked problems is the term that we use, that the social sector can get communities of practice to cluster around. And I think that's what we need to create, is neutral platforms and communities of practice where firms feel safe to share, because it's not necessarily going to impact their competitiveness, but it creates a space where they can be competitive. And I don't think we've explored that role of NGOs and social sector businesses enough in doing that kind of collaborative work.
Yes, no, very, very, very much so. And I think the crisis gives us a particular opportunity as we redefine both the role that the social sector players play in it, as well as in other sectors. So I think it's a wonderful canvas from which you can sketch a different role. So fantastic! Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Amy, I'm going to come back to you for a moment, and then I'm conscious that I want to give enough time for our audience. I know some of the questions have already started to come in. The role that you see for the social sector, for players outside of the industry or the market in which organizations currently operate, as they start to think more broadly. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think, it's very interesting what you said, Tashmia, about the platform organization. I think that what you were talking about, Sar, in terms of roles and when you work, when we work with a company, when you work with a company, say, what are the different roles that people can see, is really salient here, because this is a world in which there are roles that have not yet been imagined for some people for which they have not been imagined. And I think that speaks very much to questions of inclusivity.